Welcome to my channel to everyone who's new here, and of course for those of you who are back again, great to have you here. In this video we are going to talk about Render, TAO, Kaspa and ONDO. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So let's just start with Render. So we have wished for an bull flag, for example, or an falling wedge which afterwards breaks to the upside, so we can get into our targets. Right here, those ones. I didn't see any kind of bullish chart pattern. For the pullback, we just went for higher prices. So basically, in the first target we got, the second target we have missed a bit. This was this fair value gap right here, up to $4.34. So what is in the past is in the past. Let's look into the future. What do I see? I see an H pattern which didn't break to the downside yet. So once the $3.70 breaks to the downside, then I think the target is going to be even down to $3.18. I can't see any kind of support where I would say, okay, we should drop there. Maybe here we can draw a small box like this one. I like this one very much. So why did I choose this one? So we have here support, here also support, 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 then resistance, 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 and resistance. Here again support, and here again support. That's why I like this box a lot. I will also give you here the price marks, don't worry. But let's talk about another chart pattern which might be possible. And I'm talking about this head and shoulders formatation. So if the $3.70 breaks to the downside, then we would break the head and shoulders formatation to the downside. Target is the purple box. If we break the $3.70 to that downside, then we are also going to get the H pattern activated. So the target, in my opinion, once we break the $3.70, is going to be the area between $3.35 to $3.26. The H pattern is also leading us into lower prices, but I think the purple box is going to get very realistic in my opinion. So we can just say that all the coins are currently bearish. Even though Render didn't break to the downside yet, it might be possible that we just get here another dead cat bounce and then sell off with the other coins. It can still turn out bullish. And this would be once we break the $3.97 to the upside, because then this was here a double bottom pattern. Target is then going to be the tops right here. And then we have to see, because since it can still turn out bullish, even if we get it, it can also turn afterwards bearish with a double top pattern. And then we sell off. So we didn't get a head and shoulders formatation. We would just get a double bottom, a double top pattern, which is even more bearish than a head and shoulders formatation, in my opinion. So we have to see. So far, I expect lower prices for almost all the coins. We just have to say that those who didn't break to the downside yet can still expect a bigger bounce and afterwards break to the downside. And I don't see those coins not as bearish as the other coins. I will show you what I mean. That's why we will not talk about TAO right now. We will talk about Kaspa and afterwards TAO. Not ONDO, TAO. So, Kaspa. So for Kaspa, this H pattern already broke to the downside, got its retest. I can still imagine that we can fill up the fair value gaps even up to 9.09. I will give you here the price mark. This one right here. But the target of 7.7 cents is ongoing. And yes, we have here a huge circle. That huge circle is symbolizing fair value gaps. It is, in the end of the day, two bigger areas, So here's the first one. And down below, close to it, the second one. So I can take the bigger one right out here. So basically, the target is ongoing of 7.75 cents. That would also be lower than the low here, which could mean that we are just going to fish the stop losses and the liquidity lower than the low right here. So we would get somewhere here, and from here start our rally to the upside. I have talked about the Bitcoin dominance in the last video. We have predicted the Bitcoin dominance pretty good, pretty precise. I would even say perfectly. We have said here, head and shoulders formatation, broke to the downside, got its retest. Then we have said, rising wedge, if this breaks to the downside, target 59.7%. Look where we dropped. Afterwards, we got a dead cap bounce, and this turned out to be an H pattern. This one right here, this is the H. And now we broke it to the downside, and we are retesting it from the downside again within a bear flag. So if I just take this out, then you will see it even better. So this right here looks like a bear flag to me. So if we take it like this and like this, it's a bear flag. What I have to do before is, if we sell off with all the coins, then we can also get a bit higher in the Bitcoin dominance to fill the fair value gaps right here. But once all the coins sold off, I expect this to happen with the Bitcoin dominance, and that would mean if a dropping Bitcoin dominance means that Bitcoin is not having the most market shares anymore. So far, all the money which is within the crypto market, almost 60% is in Bitcoin. And if the Bitcoin dominance is falling, then Bitcoin is not anymore, or let's say it would be still the number one coin for sure from its market cap, but it's not 60% of the overall market then anymore. It would be 57%. And since Bitcoin has such a large market cap, if just 2% of that market cap is going to go in some altcoins, that is going to fly them up. And you can see it with Ethereum. So far, the whole Bitcoin dominance dropped, and it dropped a lot. And the most market shares went into Ethereum, not even into the other altcoins. Yeah, they have also got a nice rally, yes, but Ethereum is the best performer at the moment. And that can also indicate an altcoin season. Because first of all, it starts with Bitcoin. We have a Bitcoin season. Once the Bitcoin season turns out to get into an altcoin season, the profits and the money which is within Bitcoin is going to get switched into altcoins. And it's always going to start, so let's say it always started with Ethereum. So Ethereum is currently outperforming Bitcoin by far, not on the short term, we are even on the midterm right now. Before, Bitcoin always outperformed Ethereum. Yeah, we always had some times, like a week, where Ethereum was a bit stronger, but not over a few weeks. Bitcoin always outperformed Ethereum, and now we get currently some indication that we are close to an altcoin season. That doesn't mean it's going to happen next week or in 2 weeks. It can still happen in a few months. It's not a process which is going to happen very, very fast. It can take months until we get the altcoin season, and even once we are in the altcoin season, maybe we don't even know that we are in the altcoin season. That's why look at the Bitcoin dominance. If that drops, the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. And I see some more downside potential for that one. So we talked about Render, Kaspa, so let's get to TAO. So for TAO, we have said here, falling wedge, broke to the upside. We usually take the length of the falling wedge, put it to the breakout point. If we get a lower low, then we put it to the retest point or to the lowest point. and we got perfectly into the target. So I can take this one out to clear up the chart a bit. So this one here too, this one too, this one too, this one too. So we have also said about TAO we have to break the $404.70 to the upside. Look where we got rejected. Like this. Perfect. Perfectly got rejected. We still expected a pullback because we had here a fair value gap and then get into the $404. This didn't happen. We got straight up into that area and this fair value gap got fished with this low right here. So basically I can take this one out of the chart as well. So what I see now is similar to render. Rising wedge already broke to the downside once, broke to the downside twice. We take the spread of that rising wedge. Did I say falling wedge before? It's a rising wedge. So we are taking the spread of the rising wedge. We don't put it to the breakout point anymore. We put it to the highest point now, since this is a bearish chart pattern. Target is going to be, in my opinion, 334 US dollar, which is this red trend line. If the H pattern is going to get activated, I'm talking about this pattern right here, then the target is going to be $318 with this chart pattern. I would even say $314 for TAO. I would be a bit careful with that, because if the $314 breaks to the downside, then a bigger chart pattern is going to get activated. And yes, I don't want to say that we can drop to 170 US dollar, but we can get still a nice crash and from here start. So basically just to fish all those stop losses which we have developed up here and maybe even down here. To be bullish, yeah, we have to wait for the $404.70. Then I would be bullish and I would consider taking a good long trade, because that would be very positive in my opinion once we break the $404 to the upside. And yes, we still have to wait for the 497 US dollar. If they break to the upside, then we have a huge chart pattern, which can be this inverted head and shoulders formatation. But we have to break it to the upside. Then I would say all over 680 to 830 US dollar is going to be my target. There we have to find more chart patterns then. But as long as we don't break the 497 US dollar to the upside, this is still not my scenario. Just a speculation that we should see some downside potential, even more. Yeah, we didn't break the H pattern to the downside, but the rising wedge already. So I expect at least prices down to 334 US dollar, maybe even 314 US dollar. From here, hopefully the push. But let's see. I don't want to have this one on the chart because it's not verified. It's still just in speculation, what I think, and I'm not trading what I think. I trade what I see. So, and what I see for ONDO, this is kind of interesting. We have talked about this falling wedge right here. It broke to the upside. It got its retest. It's long. It was long. We hoped for a pullback within a bull flag or falling wedge, doesn't matter, to get into the area 113 US dollar. Here's the circle. We missed that target by, I think, 0 point something. So it's even a bit more, 1.5%. But if we take the lower part of it, it's 0 point something. So basically, let me delete all of this so we can see a bit more. We don't need this anymore. This happened. So if you now look at the purple box, then you will find something interesting. So the purple box is always, and this one here as well. So the purple box always got us support or resistance. Here it was support. We bounced in that box. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Here we got rejected 1 time, and if we zoom in, another time as well. This one right here. Yes, small bounce, but we got rejected there, so we see some price movement in that area. Here as well, look how often we got into that purple box and we got a bounce. Here we wick lower than that, no problem, bigger bounce. Here, bounce, bounce. So basically, whenever we lost that purple box, for example here, then it got resistance. And we didn't break the resistance to the upside, we sold off more. Here again, into the purple box, we sold more. Into the purple box here again, we sold a bit, but we finally managed it to break it to the upside and use it again as support. Use it here again as support. Use it here again as support. So you see how important that purple box is for ONDO. I have showed you how often we bounced there and how often we got rejected there. If we now extend that box a bit, and I make it a bit bigger to the right side, what can you see? We bounced very often here. You can see it, we came into the box, we bounced. We came into the box again, we bounced. We came into the box, we bounced. Now we lost the box. And we got already rejected. I can still imagine that since we have here a fair value gap between 98.7 cents to 99.3 cents, I will give you here the price marks, it's a very small area, that we can get there, but you have seen it before. We don't have to get rejected right here. We can also get rejected up here, or in some cases we also got support, not on the lowest part, not on the highest part, just in the middle of it. So it can also happen on the other side. So we can just get into that box and sell off from here. It would be very positive for ONDO if we break that box to the upside, because then I think we can see prices up to $1.05 very quick, just to fill the fair value gap which we have built from the PPI data. That would be 4.7%. If I want to trade it on the long side, possible. It looks good to me. But as long as we don't break the box to the upside, we can always expect lower prices for ONDO. And this was from the bull flag. It was just an example. I can take this one out from the chart. Now I need my pen again. Here. H pattern. One of the most bearish chart patterns. Broke to the downside, got its retest so far. Target 85.8 cents. Down here. I would also say that this is important support. So I will put here a box. Like this one. So I need to zoom in now. $85.3. This is going to be the target in my opinion, but once we lose the box, and the box we are going to lose at around about 84.3 cents. Here's also the price tag. Then I think we can even drop down to 7 cents for ONDO. Possible. So I would be a bit careful. We have 50% of the coins broke an H pattern to the downside. The other, I would say 45% developed the H pattern, didn't break it to the downside yet. One coin, which is Avalanche, didn't even get the H pattern. Yeah, so the other coins did at the same time this price movement here to the downside, and they are currently here. Some coins are already here. Avalanche did this. So basically it didn't even develop an H pattern. But it looks very bearish to me. The overall market is not looking good since the PPI data was not that good, and it was even far worse than expected and forecasted. So I would just talk about the PPI. I have done it in the previous video where I talked about SUI, Avalanche, HBAR, and Dogecoin. I would just do it now. If you haven't seen it, then you can listen. If you already know what the PPI is going to indicate, then you can just finish this video and click to another one if you like. So the PPI is the price producer index. That's the inflation rate for producers, so for the production companies. The PPI indicates CPI, customer price index. That's the inflation which we feel. So what happens is the market forecasted, I think, 0.3% PPI. So an inflation rate of 0.3%. The actual PPI was 0.9%. So we were off a lot. Yeah, we are not talking about 0.1%, which the market didn't forecast it good. Then this wouldn't have happened. And we can just look how much it is. It doesn't look much, but it is. So from up here, this was a 7.5% candle for ONDO. If we now look into Bitcoin, this was the PPI. So the PPI data came so bad, and I have even watched this. It happened within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, we sold off 2.9% for Bitcoin, which is very unusual. So the data was not good. So what happens is, if you, and I ask you a question. If you are a producer, imagine you are producing, for example, iPhones, and you have an inflation rate on the production costs of your iPhone. Aren't you not going to increase the price of your iPhone to maintain your profits, your earnings? For example, if it costs $100 and you sell it for $200, now your production cost is not anymore $100, it's going to be $110. What are you going to do? You can sell it for $200, then you do 10 euros less profit, or you can increase the price by $10 to $20. And most companies are going to increase the price. That's why we have an inflation. So it always starts with the companies which have higher production costs, and then they are going to just increase the prices of their products, and we buy it for a higher price. That's the inflation. And now we have talked about how PPI is going to indicate CPI. CPI is also going to indicate the rate cuts, or the rates from the Fed. So if the inflation goes up, then the Fed is most likely not going to do some rate cuts. So I don't think that, I think the next rate decision is in September. I doubt that we are going to see a rate cut there. So we have to get very good numbers in the employer market. Then I would say maybe we can see some rate cuts. But if everything goes like it is right now, we won't see a rate cut. And the market sees that, and the market already forecasted it that we won't see a rate cut. So basically the overall market structure is not looking good to me. We can still get a dead cat bounce, like for example here for ONDO. Like for example a bigger one for Bitcoin is also possible. That we are just going to fill the fair value gaps even up to 120,000 US dollar, but we can still sell off. And that's for what I want to warn you. I'm currently in 5 short trades for Solana, SUI, HBAR, Kaspa, and ONDO, because we broke the H pattern to the downside already and retested it. And if we are going to get a follow through, then I'm going to increase my position size most likely, or look for other coins like, for example, XRP, for example, Dogecoin, for example, Randa and TAO. They didn't break through the downside yet. Doesn't have to happen. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But once we get a follow through for all my short trades, those are also going to break to the downside. And then I can also short trade them. And then all the coins broke to the downside, and then the whole crypto market is going to be short. Now it's 50%. So with that said, we see each other tomorrow with hopefully new chart patterns and hopefully new price movements where we can track and say more confident where the price is going to go. See you then.